Namaskar. Welcome to this new session on Nidra Vritti. Nidra Vritti means Abhava Pratyaya Lambana Vritti. I repeatedly tell you that do not just take it as sleep or sushupti. Nidra is more pervasive concept here. It's a vritti. So, Nidra is something that we have something called as Nidra Avastha, which is a state of consciousness. Then very Nidra means just a sleep. And then Nidra Vritti. So we must be clear about Nidra, Nidra Vritti, Nidra Avastha, because they can easily overlap each other. So ponder over it and try to arrive at some kind of distinct clarity with regards to Nidra, which is sleep, Nidra Avastha, which is a state of consciousness, the dormant state of consciousness, and Nidra Vritti. And what is being spoken of here is Nidra Vritti. But to consider Nidra Vritti, you must be aware of these other two states as well. The state of Nidra, Nidra Avastha, which is a state of consciousness, dormant state of consciousness, and the Nidra itself, very state of sleep. Now here the Nidra Vritti also circumscribes Swapna Avastha. This is something that should be taken note of, because otherwise Swapna Avastha is a state of consciousness. Jagrata Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, and Turiya Avastha. So we are familiar with these four states of consciousness. Now Swapna Avastha is a state of consciousness. Now, Swapna Avastha is also circumscribed by Nidra Vritti here. Swapna Avastha is also circumscribed here. So, Swapna, dream, Swapna Avastha, dream state, and Swapna Vritti. The Vritti that comes in dream. Because the dream is not just experience, objective experience, and without any sensitivity and sensation and responses. Because in dream vritti, we either have sukha vritti or dukkha vritti. Either we are happy or we are unhappy, we are sad or we are not sad. So some such kind of bhoga in the form of sukha dukkha is there in Nidra, Swapna Vritti. So Swapna has a Vritti because we don't just experience dream. It is possible that out of dream experience you have some kind of happiness, delight, or sorrow, or dukkha. So that is Vritti, Swapna Vritti. So here Nidra Vritti of Patanjali is circumscribing Sapna, Swapna Vritti, Swapna Avastha, Nidra, Nidra Vritti, and Nidra Avastha. Now about Nidra, what is the Vritti? I slept well. I did not sleep well. Is an experience, is a Vritti. So I slept well, therefore I am feeling fine, I am feeling light, I am feeling elated, which Vyasa has explained in his commentary. Sukham avam apswapsam, then dukkham avam apswapsam. So there is vritti, or the kind of or nature of sukha dukkha. Even in sleep, it is not with reference to dream. That sukha dukkha is expressed. Without reference to dream, there is an expression of sukha dukkha, and therefore it is also vritti. If you have slept well, dreamless sleep is also a vritti. because you have a kind of recollection that I slept well. So when I slept well is expression, it means that I did not have any disturbance by sleep, by dream, etc. That means the sleep is also a mental modulation. That's why it is chitta vritti. Nidra is chitta vritti. In the sense, sleep is chitta vritti, dream is chitta vritti. So that is what Patanjali is mentioning. But his sutra is so pervasive that it includes swapna, swapna vritti, swapna avastha, nidra, nidra vritti, nidra avastha. So see how pervasive is this sutra. So this is not just nidra as it comes in literal sense, or the lexicography mentions about nidra, which you get the meaning in dictionary. So this is a technical term which I am repeatedly telling you, that it should be only used as nidra and not in any other language. Any other language has words for dream and sleep, separate words for dream and sleep. And they have separate words for unconscious state, etc., comatic state, etc., or daydreaming, etc. But this is circumscribing all that. So understand the pervasiveness. So finally, let me tell you here that there is Divaswapna, the daydreaming, Murcha, it is unconscious state or comatic state, and lack of advertence, and then dream, dream experience, sleep and sleep experience. This all put together is Nidra. It is important to understand that it is not only with reference to sleep, sushupti, dormancy, but then it has enormous radius. Okay. Then, the Vedantic wisdom and the wisdom that comes through Adhyatma Shastra and Moksha Shastra will tell us about. There is Srushti of Jagrata Avastha. Jagrata Avastha is a creation by itself, which becomes an object of study for cosmology, astrophysics, and astronomy. Astronomy and cosmology, I mean Western cosmology, doesn't have reference to dream world, whereas our cosmology, Oriental cosmology, philosophical cosmology, Darshanik cosmology also includes Swapna Srushti. So it's almost a creation. Swapna Srushti, it's a creation by itself. So we can be in that creation which is not available in a wakeful state. In a wakeful state, we must have actual roads to walk on road. In dreamy state, we don't need actual road built up by the PWD department or the highway corporations. Without such roads, you can be walking on that road. So when in dream you are walking, which is that road? Is it the road constructed by asphalt technology or concrete technology or whatever kinds of roads that we have today? So there are roads on which we walk. There are rivers and lakes and oceans which are not part of physical geography. But yet in Swapna Srushti we will be experiencing a lake. This lake will not come in the map of physical geography of that region. But yet there will be a lake. And it will be almost identical to really actual physical true lake that you find in book of geography, physical geography. They follow. So geography will not deal with this. Physical geography will not deal, or geography will not deal with the mountains and rivers and oceans that you experience in dream. However, they are there and they give you real experience. Because dream experience is at par with awakeful experience. Insofar as the perception is concerned, it is absolutely identical. But then, where there are no roads, there are roads in dream. Where there are no rivers and lakes and oceans, you have rivers, lakes and oceans there in dream. Who is the creator of it? So this inquiry has come in Upanishads. And Upanishads declare that He, H capital, is the creator of all this. There is a wonderful description of Swapna Srushti in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So He is the creator. Then again see in His creation, another marvelous aspect of His creation. Now, in His creation, you are part of it because you are experiencing the dream. Now, who are you? You are just a being, just a consciousness. You don't have nama rupa. The dream experiences come to you, and that you is not the one which is delimited by caste, class, creed, gender, status, stature, age, condition, etc., etc. It's only merely being. And that mere being, without any shackles, without any delimitations, without that box, otherwise we are in a box. Caste, class, creed, gender, status, age, ethnicity. So this is a box, and we just can't imagine ourselves without this box in a wakeful state. You have nama rupa. Now this one who is in dream, you are part of creation and you are having a dream, but who is that you? If you are Govinda, one who sees the dream is not Govinda, because he is not man, woman, young, old, etc., etc. So this inquiry comes in yoga, Vedanta and philosophy when it says, know thyself. Who am I? Because this I is totally different. In a wakeful state, I have caste, class, creed, genealogical background, genetic background. Then I have ethnicity. So I have so many things which come as delimitations, age, etc. So I cannot be not be in the box and then just have my experience of being. You can't have any experience in this world, a wakeful state, and of this world, in this world, without nama rupa. You will have nama rupa. You have a name, you have a form. That is the one which experiences. Now, the essential metaphysical Atma doesn't have form, doesn't have color. The metaphysics tells us that there is no form and no color to the self. The self. It has no class, caste, creed, gender, genealogy, genetic background, race, age, gender, condition, state, status, etc. Because that is what happens to us in sleep. In sleep, again, it's a wonderful description. Atra pita apita bhavati, mata amata bhavati. The father becomes non-father, mother becomes non-mother, son becomes non-son. Thief becomes non-thief, burglar becomes non-burglar, saint becomes non-saint, king becomes non-king, the pauper becomes non-pauper. All these states get attached to us so strongly in a wakeful state. While in sleep, they are all not there. That's why it is said by mystic philosophers that sleep is a wonderful levelizer. All become equal. The emperor sleeping in his palace on very comfortable bed when fast asleep is identical and absolutely in level at par with one who is lying down on a pavement or on a street, levelized. That's the marvel of state of sleep. It's a great levelizer, rich in deep sleep and dreamless sleep is identical to one who is pauper, one who is a beggar, fast asleep. So that's why it is called great levelizer. The point is, in state of sleep, you are not you, by which you are identified as you. You are identified by others and you yourself as someone having particular name, particular form, particular body of delimitations, which I am repeatedly telling you: caste, class, creed, gender, status, genealogy, genetic background, family, race, age, condition, status, state, etc., etc., etc. So all those barriers are broken. You don't have those barriers while you are in sleep. And since dream is part of sleep, you are again in the same state without barriers. So it is actually not true that I saw a dream, which we come and say in a wakeful state. It is not really true. When we say, I saw in dream this, I had a dream, I saw this in dream. No. When you are declaring this, making an expression of it, you are a delimited person. You are a delimited person with name, form, etc., etc., age, sex, etc., etc., ethnicity, race, class, caste, etc., etc. So this person in a wakeful state who declares that I saw a dream, it was not the same being who experienced the dream. It's totally a different person without delimitations. That is why it is said that, suppose Govinda is sleeping, we all say that yes, Govinda is sleeping. But the fact of the matter, the reality is that Govinda is sleeping, but one who is sleeping is not Govinda. Govinda is sleeping, but one who is sleeping is not Govinda, because otherwise this Govinda has parents, children or siblings and friends and social circles, etc., etc. But one who is in sleep doesn't have all that. That's why this kind of enigmatic statement, Govinda is sleeping, but one who is sleeping is not Govinda. John is sleeping, but one who is sleeping is not John. Michael is sleeping, but one who is sleeping is not Michael. That is what the state of sleep and dream is. It is fabulous to inquire into it. So there is universe in dream which is not part of cosmology of modern science. There is the dormant state itself is again a creation which is not part of cosmology of the modern science. But in Oriental wisdom, they have described this Srushti, Swapna Srushti. There is world in dreamy state. That's why we can experience so many things in dreamy state which are almost identical to that in a wakeful state. However, totally distinct, totally incomparable. Anyway, so there is Swapna Srushti. And then I told you about even Nidra. Nidra in the sense sleep. it is also a universe, which it is actually really the cosmos. Although we call all this as cosmos, there is more chaos than cosmos. To understand this manifest creation as cosmos, you need to be philosophers. If you are deeply sunk in mundanity, materialistic gravities, then this is really a chaos. There is no point in calling this as cosmos. Although essentially it is cosmos, we never experience this as cosmos, we experience this as chaos. You need to be on a philosophical pedestal to look at this as well as cosmos. But in dream, it is cosmos. So also in the state of sleep, it is highest kind of cosmos. When you are in the bosom of your, when I say you are in bosom, you are in embrace, it is your jivatma, it is your finite self which is in embrace with the infinite self, the greater self. And then what is the kind of this universe? Atra na annat pashyati, na annat shrunoti, na anyat vijanati. Is all description which has come in Upanishads. You don't see anything around. When one is in embrace of beloved, you do not know anything of the external world as well as in the internal world. Both the worlds will have disappeared when you are in that romantic embrace. So that is what happens in sleep. That it is such a universe that there is nothing to see and you don't see. It is such a universe there is nothing to hear and you don't hear. This is such a universe that there is nothing to be known and therefore there is nothing known to you. So we have these universes. So there is Jagrata Srushti, Jagrata Avastha Srushti, Swapna Srushti, Swapnavastha Srushti, and Sushupti Srushti, Sushuptyavastha Srushti. The mysticism speaks about this, which is part of Indian philosophy. So these are certain things, mysterious things, which are revealed if you are a student of philosophy, particularly Yoga philosophy, Vedanta philosophy. We have experience in a wakeful state. There is no doubt about it. Nobody will repudiate the statement that we have experiences in the wakeful state. We have experiences in the dreamy state as well. Dreamy state and dreamy state of consciousness, we have experience. Dormancy, we have experience. As a matter of fact, in sleep, you have infinitude of bliss. Paramanandavastha. Because you are in embrace with Satyam Jnanam Anantam. You are in embrace with Anandamaya Paramatma, Anandamaya Atma. So the bliss is also infinitude. Therefore I said that in sleep you don't just say that I was tired and now I am free from my fatigue. You get energized. Like you get energized after having a dating with your beloved. Successful dating with your beloved, sufficient dating with your beloved, you get energized. Your energy levels go up. So this is the dating for the finite self with infinite self. So therefore our energies go up. So sleep is not just sleep. Sleep is not just overcoming fatigue and tiredness. It is not just defatiguing process. A de-tiring process. There is extra freshness. When your tiredness goes, you say you are fresh. But there is something which is again expressed as I am fresh because of some electrification in you or some kind of energetic charge in you. You say, I am fresh. So in state of sleep, such things happen. So there is experience in sleep. That is why it is a chitta vritti. It may not be manovritti. The mind may not experience. The chitta experiences. That is why it is counted in chitta vritti. Manovritti, you might say, no, I did not feel anything. And there was no mental thought process while I was in dreamless sleep. Yet there is chitta vritti. Because there is experience. Now, I need not tell you what kind of experience and what an amount of bliss, delight and happiness and joy that you have when you essentially have gone and embraced with your beloved, the Paramatma within. You are in the bosom of that divinity. So it is immeasurable joy, immeasurable bliss. That means it is vritti. So just as Jagrata Avastha they have vrittis, Swapna Avastha have vrittis, Chitta vrittis, and Sushupti Avastha too have Chitta vrittis. About our Jagrati experience and Jagrut business of life, we have some religions which tell us do this, don't do this, take this, take this as that, etc., etc. So we have these philosophical sermons. In normative sciences, you get it. You might think that something is right, but then it says, no, it is not right, it is wrong. Or you might think that something is wrong, then the sermon tells us, no, it is not wrong, it is right. So we get sermons, and that tells us how to go about in our awakeful state. What is right and wrong while we are in a wakeful state. So normative sciences tell you about right and wrong while you are in a wakeful state. They don't speak about right and wrong while you are in dreamy state or sleepy state. But about Swapna, let me tell you, as I said, there are dream readers, and they tell you, they interpret the dream. If you recall the last lesson, there are allegorical dreams and symbolic dreams. The meaning of it is told by someone who is, if I may say so, is a dream reader. And he interprets the dream for you and he says, this is what the dream meant. And therefore you need to take such course of action. Dharma Shastra tells us about, if you get particular kind of dream, maybe it entails a prayaschitta. It entails expiation, atonement. Now you can't argue, I have not really committed, I was in my dreams. But if you got such a kind of dream, then it entails prayaschitta. Sometimes it entails some karma, some anusthana. You need to go to temple, you need to go to shrine, you have to do some japa, you have to do some mantra anusthana. So the Dharma Shastra will tell you what to do if you get a kind of dream. Because our Dharma Shastra has great depth. So it also cites vices and virtues out of dream experiences. It is not whether you feel it vicious or virtuous. The interpretations tell you that this is vicious and this is virtuous. If it is virtuous, you have to do certain things. Thanksgiving act. Like if you are given some bounty, you have thanksgiving gesture. So you will have to do that. It was a good dream. Having had a good dream, you will have to do something. Do some upasana to express your gratitudes for what dream you had. Sometimes the dream experience is so, as interpreted by the dream readers, that you entail prayaschitta, expiation, atonement. You will have to perform it. Some japa, some karma, some vidhi vidhana. So Dharma Shastra tells you about this. Karma Vipaka Shastra tells you about this. If you had such a kind of dream, you will have to take this kind, do this kind of action. You will have to perform this kind of karma. So there is Karma Vipaka Samhita, there is Dharma Shastra, which consider your dreams and tell you the course of action that you have to take after certain dreams, which the dream readers tell you that there is allegory in it or there is symbol in it. So some karmas, some anusthana has to be taken up after particular kind of dream. So again I tell you, Dharma Shastra tells you about it, because many of us in the material world are totally averse of Dharma Shastra. You just want to keep them aside. What you want to keep aside might be right, but it is not right to keep Dharma Shastra aside, because Dharma Shastra will give you certain revelations, realizations, certain interpretations which we cannot interpret. We are not capable of interpreting, particularly in our awakeful state. We are trying to interpret our dream in awakeful state while the experience was in dreamy state. This is illogical. This is not allowed. So, therefore, about dreams, we have to look into Yoga Shastra, Moksha Shastra, Adhyatma Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Karma Vipaka Shastra, Upasana Shastra. They will tell you. While you are doing Upasana, if you have particular kind of experience, it is denoting something. Again, there is Upanishadic reference. After having performed a karma anusthana, if you see a very auspicious woman with all Mangalya marks, auspicious marks, your karma has succeeded. Sometimes if you see in your dreams demons, long teeth, dark teeth, ferocious face, red eyes, petrifying figure, so maybe that's a portent. It is telling you. So all these things come in Yoga Shastra and Dharma Shastra. They tell you there are portents. They will tell you about the death approaching, death round the corner. So certain experiences will tell you that your death is round the corner. Now this is Dharma Shastra which will tell you, Karma Vipaka Shastra which will tell you, Yoga Shastra which will tell you. So in Yoga Shastra, Karma Shastra, Dharma Shastra, all these things are subject matter. They deal with dreams. And then they will tell you significance of dream, meaning of dream. You can't have arrived at your own meaning of dream when you are awake. Anyway, that's a really mind-blowing universe about dream world. As I said yesterday, these are balls, these are oceans. They have enormous radius. Jagrati is smaller than dream, dream is smaller than Sushupti. The Swapna Srushti is larger than actual Srushti, and the dormant Srushti is infinite. It is really infinite. Anyway, it's a unique world, but of course as a beginners in science of yoga, philosophy of yoga, we need not be trying to go after that right away. But let me tell you, all this is going to come when your syllabus expands in yoga. So I am giving you a kind of preview of it. Anyway, so the Swapnavastha, Swapna Srushti, Swapna Vritti is investigated. And actually it is implication of this sutra to investigate it. How far we investigate depends upon our qualification and our caliber. But if the same sutra is to be interpreted by someone who is Yajnavalkya, someone who is Vyasa, someone who is on that hierarchy, it will be totally different interpretation of Nidra Vritti. What are we supposed to know by Nidra Vritti? Well, it is quite limited. But what a yogi should be knowing by Nidra Vritti is enormous. You should be aware of this. Anyway, so coming to this Nidra Vritti of the nature of Sushupti. Nidra is also Sushupti, as Nidra is also Swapna, Nidra is also Diva Swapna, Diva is Swapna, Nidra is also lack of advertence, minimum advertence not there, it is also Nidra Vritti. Which I told you yesterday, that you are not aware of your actuality, your conditions actual, and the things actual around you. If you are not aware of this, then somebody says, where are you? Are you not in this world? Where are you? Because advertence is lost on actuality which is within oneself and which is around oneself. So that is also Nidra. So actually you are not dozing, doping, or you are not fast asleep, but sometimes your teacher says, are you sleeping? Are you in sleep? That means what? You lack advertence. You lack advertence where you need a minimum advertence that is not there. If the minimum advertence is absent, which is required at particular point in time and particular situation and scenario and condition, if that is below it, then it is also Nidra, but it is not sleep. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to say additionally about this fabulous Nidra Vritti. The much said about it is much remaining to say about it. Much said means much remaining to say. It is so fabulous. Anyway, now with reference to Sushupti, there are two theories which are again interesting which come in Yoga Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, which is describing our sleep, dreamless sleep. So I am referring to sleep, I am referring to Sushupti, which is a part of this Nidra Vritti which is being discussed. So in this Sushupti, there are two theories. One is called theory of fatigue, Shravana Siddhanta, which comes in Upanishads. And there is another theory called Laya Siddhanta, theory of absorption. Usually we are told, somebody complains about sleep, we say you lack hard work, you must do some physical hard work. And that is lacking and therefore you don't get good sleep. So the advice is that you must be fatiguing your body and then you will get good sleep. Oh, yes, okay. There is nothing that we can argue about it. So there is that fatigue theory, where all these forces get fatigued and therefore the physical, mental, psychological, sensory forces get fatigued. And then out of fatigue you get a sleep. So it is explained with a metaphor of a bird. The bird with a thread is tied to a bark of a tree and then it is let free. It flies in that particular radius which the thread offers, and it goes round and round and round and then comes back because it is being tied with a thread. So it has to come back to that somewhere to rest. So that's how there is that metaphor which is used. So that is fatigue theory of sleep. This comes in one of the Upanishads. Then another theory is there which is called Laya Siddhanta, absorption. The grosser aspects of embodiment get absorbed in subtler aspects of embodiment, subtler into more subtler into more and more subtler, more and more subtler into more and more and more and more and more subtler. And that's why you get encased in state of sleep. You are enveloped by state of sleep. So there is theory of absorption. Because otherwise very, very old people who can't be fatiguing their bodies, who don't look to fatigue their bodies, fatigue their minds, They should get sleep. Like there is only fatigue theory that you must work hard and tire out yourself, then you will certainly sleep. Then this remedy cannot be offered to weak people, old people, decrepites, debilitated people, because they cannot be going to work hard. So if they perhaps work hard, they might pop off. They are looking for sleep and they will pop off. There must be another theory, that's called Laya theory, Laya Siddhanta, absorption theory. Yes, the absorption also will cause sleep. So you don't have to fatigue yourself to get absorbed. So there are two interesting theories which are considered in this Sushupti, or the Nidra, which is Sushupti, of the kind of Sushupti. The point to be noted is that compared to a wakeful state, the difference between dreamy state and dormant state is that it is not you who is experiencing. Because it is the you of a wakeful state is having delimitations: caste, class, creed, gender, status, stature, caliber, etc., etc. You are wealthy, unwealthy, strong, weak, intelligent, stupid, etc., etc. But that is not the one who gets the experience in dream and sleep. So one who is getting dream experience is not necessarily stupid. He might be, the experience might be exaltedly wise, of wisdom. As I said during the last session, Drishtanta Swapna, some formidable problems are solved in sleep. A wakeful state doesn't qualify you to be solving those problems because of delimitations and limitations. But you will solve those problems in dreamy state. That great mathematician, Ramanujan, it is said that he solved many mathematical problems in dream. His goddess blessed him with solutions. The Namagiri Amma, his personal deity. So she solved so many problems for him, and the world considered that he solved the problems. So the dream world is to be really understood that way. It was not that Ramanuja, in one sense, dreamt and got. He had a dream and he got it. He had a dream and his personal deity, Ramagiri Amma, blessed him with mathematical solutions, mathematical theorems. So he came out with theorems and he postulated. So he was her representative. He not as son of his father and mother, but he as a representative of Namagiri Amma came out with certain theorems in mathematics, or came out with some solutions in mathematics. So we have to put these things in perspective and understand. So Vedanta tells you, who gives you dreams? He gives you dream. Particularly Drishtanta Swapna. It is only he who can give. No one else can give such dreams. Well, this is really a fabulous subject matter with which we are dealing. Don't just dub it as fantasy. It is fabulous. So this Nama-Rupa Atita state, transcending Nama-Rupa, transcending this your delimited form, is a condition that comes so naturally, all shackles are cut asunder. And then you get that fabulous experience of the world of dream and world of sleep. So these are metapsychical experiences. And that is why you don't claim that you had a dating in your sleep. Your manovrutti doesn't get to know that. There are so many things that in the deeper psychic consciousness there are experiences. That's why this word is chitta vritti, not manovrutti. Not mental modulations, but chaitik modulations. Because it is ocean. And so many things happen at the bottom of the ocean. So bottom of the ocean is marvel. So bottom of the state of awakeful state, dormant states and sleepy state is something very fabulous. The Mandukya Upanishad speaks about, many Upanishads speak about, Mandukya Upanishad particularly speaks about the three states. They are Pranava Matra. See, what is the significance? Ma refer to Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. What must be the relationship? The Upanishads speak about these three states of consciousness as well as the fourth state of consciousness, which is Turiyavastha, transcendent state. So there is much to know about these things through Upanishads. One of the Upanishads says that the three states, Samadhi, Sushupti and Moksha, are in one sense identical. Samadhi, Sushupti, Moksheshu Brahmarupata. It is one of the Sankhya Sutras and also a statement in Maha Upanishad. Samadhi, Sushupti, Moksheshu Brahmarupata. You become identical, you become one with that ultimate Brahman in Sushupti. So it's not just tamasic state of, tar covered state of consciousness, tar coated state of consciousness. It's a great state of consciousness. So Samadhi, of course, we know that is a transcendent state because that is Turiyavastha. And then Moksha. Moksha is the transcendent state, going beyond Nishprapanchikaranam, going beyond this Brahmanda. So see, the sleep gives us excursion to the Paraloka, Paramaloka, Paratparaloka, to that abode where one having gone doesn't return. So it gives us just excursion to experience what is liberation, what is Kaivalya, what is Moksha, what is Nirvana. The state of sleep takes us to that excursion. See, this quantum of delight, happiness, bliss of state of sleep, dreamless sleep, is immeasurable. Even if somebody is offered, a very materialistic man is offered all the material glories and given to him and said, be happy, be happy, be happy, be happy. I will keep on giving you more and more and more and more. And it is being incremental joy. At some point in time, you, even as a materialistic man, will say, enough, 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 let me go to sleep. If you are given a condition that you will never ever sleep in your life, but your account will be credited with billions and trillions of rupees at the cost of your sleep, absolutely, you will not opt for it. Because sleep is indispensable, not only in the sense biological indispensability, but the joy of sleep, the happiness of sleep is immeasurable, immense. That's why we kick all those material happinesses, we kick them and go to sleep. We opt for the happiness of sleep by kicking all material happinesses. It is such glorious happiness, immeasurable. No one wants to dispense with it. No one is happy without it. So, even very materialistic man will kick away all these material glories and will say, let me have sleep for some time. And it's not just indispensable that you need to sleep, but it is a happiness, which I just now told you what kind of happiness. Which happiness is greater than meeting one's own beloved? So you are depriving that finite self to have a dating with infinite by refusing sleep. And then it is, your essential I is really like fish out of waters. Anyway, there is much to discover about it, much to look about. This Nidra Vritti is indeed fabulous. Anyway, we will end today's session here. Namaskar, all of you.